Are you currently looking at homes and you're trying to figure out what the right house is? Stay tuned as we're going to talk through the 6 things that you need to know about when looking at homes. Here we go. Hey everybody, this is Jared Chamberlain with the Chamberlain Real Estate Group, and we are in the Chamberlain Real Estate Group studios in our office. And I am joined with some wonderful, fantastic people. We had conversations with them last week about renovations. This week, we're talking about showings, looking at homes. What are some things that you should be aware of? The 6 things you should be aware of when you're looking for your new home, and what are those costs associated with it? Because what I found is when we're looking at houses with people, a lot of times individuals can sit there and say, oh, this is wrong. Insert whatever the problem is.
Yeah.
It's $25,000 to fix. And you're like, no, it's like $3,000. And they're like, no. And it's just crazy. Right. So, so I want to introduce you guys. This is Matt and Laura. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks
again.
for having us.
Again.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we let's just jump right in and talk about these 6 things that we want to look at and be aware of when we're actually looking at houses and showing. And I think the first thing that a lot of people come up with and have that exact expression and thought that I just said is furnaces. I have found even newer agents that have worked with us have been like, yeah, like furnaces are $25,000. And I'm like, no, furnaces are not $25,000.
Yeah.
Furnaces. What should we be looking for? And what are some of the costs associated with it?
I think furnaces are as simple as just most of the furnaces in homes have a service schedule and they have an install date. By actually, I believe it's code. You have to have like they have to put a sticker on that when it was inspected, things like that. And so you're going to get a pretty good idea of what you're dealing with and how it was looked after just by having a look at that kind of those notes on the furnace.
Yeah.
If it seems like it's, greater than 15, 20 years, then you may have maybe many more years, but you might have to exchange a part or something like that. And if you'd want a brand new furnace and if that's what the technician that comes deems it's necessary, then quotes typically are in around $5,000 to $6,000.
Yeah, depending on the labor and how far pipes need to be run.
Yeah,
and all
how
that
big
kind
the
of stuff.
home is,
Totally.
if it's zoned, things like that.
Or if it's 2 furnaces. Sometimes there's a big furnace for the main floor and the basement and a small for the upstairs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, say you could probably just attach maybe a rough value of like $5,000 to $6,000 per furnace, type thing to replace it, and that could go higher or less depending the size, but that's kind of an average maybe.
I don't know if you know this cost or things associated with, but air conditioning. So if someone ever wanted to add air conditioning, what is that typical cost?
It's all sized based on the square footage of your home, but I think a standard tone type unit is maybe about $4,500.
That was my guess too.
Yeah, I would say, and that would include the install. And where prices could go higher is if it's quite a task to get the AC lines to where you want that furnace to be placed outside, where it's the right place for that. Yeah. But most times mechanical rooms are beside the side yard that all the penetrations are, and that's where you put your AC. Yeah. So then most times it's pretty simple that way.
And here's a tip that we've seen on a lot of different places. If you're going to add air conditioning to a house and you do have the 2 furnaces, just add it to the smaller one, only upstairs, because then at night you can keep that cool. Usually during the day you don't need to cool your whole house.
Oh, that's good.
And so then you can spend less on an air conditioner. So
that's good.
I've got a few things.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
really good.
Thank you. We can end the video here now. All right, second one. I'm gonna skip this one. We'll come back to it. But roof. What are things on a roof that people should be looking for from your standpoint? Because you guys are custom builders, renovation guys, not home inspectors. But from the builder renovation aspect, what should people be looking for when they're just walking up to the house, looking at the roof, things like that?
Well, if like the shingles are curling and that's always kind of the where they kind of come unlaminated and curling,
Yeah.
then you know you're on the last years or last maybe 1 to 2 years of your roof. You're in
And
borrowed
if you've
time.
got the moss growing,
Yeah, then
you're done.
yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think those are, other than that, you have so many years that,
Yeah.
and a home inspector can probably give you a better assessment than a first-hand visual assessment that you'll
Totally.
make.
Yeah.
And he'll look into a lot of the flashing details and things like that to make sure those are correct.
Yeah.
And so I think a home inspector has got great value just to give you the right assessment of the roof.
Yeah.
And replacement value would be, I would say, like a 1,000 square foot footprint house.
Yeah.
Is about $6,000 and then you get bigger, it would be like maybe a 1,500 square foot footprint is about 10 grand is
Yeah.
kind of rough
For like your
figures.
typical asphalt
Yeah,
roof.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in Alberta, an asphalt roof predominantly is the roof of choice because we have not a lot of heavy rain. We're in a pretty drier part of the world, and we get a lot of sunlight. We have drier roofs for a lot of times.
Yeah.
We end up getting, like, if it's a 25-year shingle, we get close to 25 years if done right.
Oh, interesting.
Whereas other places, that 25-year shingle is
Like
not that
10
at
or
all.
15 or
Yeah,
something.
it's 10 or
Because of
15.
the weather.
So we built homes that are $3 million. It's always an asphalt shingle typically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing too is you during the winter months when you're walking in and looking at a house, sometimes you can have snow covered roofs, so you can't see anything at all. So some of the things that I think are great when you're doing a showing is start looking up in the ceilings on the upper floors. If it's a bungalow, just look in the ceilings, but look above.
Yeah.
And see if you see any stains.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the one way. So every room, when you walk in, when you're looking at a house, just do a scan of the room, look at the ceilings, and hopefully your agent is doing this for you because that's what we try to do for all of our showings. But scan the room, take a look, see if you see anything, which then could tell you that there was something or is something happening there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another point there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So the third one is the exterior of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many, many, many types of home exteriors. Let's see if we can name off as many as we can. No, doesn't need to be that game. But we got stucco and vinyl and old cedar to hardy plank to new stucco because there's different types of stucco. Stone. Yeah. So like, what should someone be looking for when they're walking around the house and the exterior of their home?
They'll as you'll be able to get a good reading on just the maintenance of the exterior. Things like cedar homes, how often was it painted? How often was the gutters were cleaned out, making the soffit and places like that have longevity. And so that just assessment gives you kind of a really good idea of what the condition is. If you're into like a stucco house, then just look for water spots. If you see any kind of water spots or like calcium
darker spots.
Yeah, like darker water spots that are like, say, below a window on each corner type thing.
Yeah.
Then what that means is water has come behind and it's like
sitting.
It's like a stuck. Yeah, it's a sponge, so then it kind of absorbs that water that's infiltrating behind.
Yeah.
Now it could be going down the envelope, but it should be more. It shouldn't be stopped and absorbing. Like
it should be running down.
Yeah.
Behind. Yeah. And some of the older, like we were talking about before, some of the older stucco homes, kind of what age? Like 80s to 90s?
Yeah, so like the 70s, 80s, and maybe a little earlier, they were doing pretty good stuff. Like they were using like almost a concrete-based stucco, and it was So it's very durable, and the home's really breathed. And
Yeah.
so they have like, today people are just painting them to update
Yeah.
them, and they're doing a good job. When it went into the 90s, then a lot of details, the homes got tighter in how they breathed, but then a lot of details on the exterior, like reverse flashing, end dams on flashings and stuff, were not yet practiced. And
Yeah.
so there became like almost a 10-year period where there was a lot of poor work done in the stucco world. And so we've had to, do a lot of remediation stuff in some of those areas because of poor building science.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, flashing is typically like a piece of metal that kind of goes above and below, right?
Yeah.
The window comes out, tips down, and it just helps water flow out.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes to. So, I mean, we've actually done, I remember there was one house years ago, brand new build, 800 something thousand purchase. And it was like a builder down south in one of those communities. And they didn't finish the flashing, and they're like, okay, here's your house. And we're like, no.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you have a new house or a resale home, that you got to make sure that stuff is there and working. So
yeah.
No, that's cool. So we've gone through furnace. So again, it's that 6,000 to 7,000 fix, not 25. Roof is about a 6 to 10, depending on the size, and go up from there if you have a bigger footprint.
Yeah.
Exterior of a home. If you're going to replace an exterior of a home, what can that set you back? What kind of range? Because I mean, you can go from vinyl to probably hardy plank on the other end, right? For cost.
Yeah.
I would think that, like, doing like bungalows into hardy, or like and doing all the soffit and everything, or like in around like the 28,000, 30,000, 25, 28,000, and then it just goes up. I mean, we've done exteriors that have stone, and they're a big home, and those can be north of 100,000 to do all of that.
But that's also probably sitting on a 4,000 square foot type property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's on the other end, I guess, of the spectrum. Yeah.
So if you're sitting in a typical 2-story and you have to redo the stucco, if you're just going to paint it, you could probably get away with 10 or 15.
Yeah.
But if you're going to actually redo the stucco or redo it with something, let's say hardy plank, because that's a fantastic product, you're probably sitting at 40, 45.
Yeah, I would think that's probably, like, I was thinking more like 50 would be kind of like the middle number for.
I cut out your profit there. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay. Don't let it happen again. Another one. So 1, 2, 3. Fourth one is windows. Windows can be wonderful, and they can be a biggest pain in your butt as well.
Yeah.
There's so many types of windows. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you've seen and some of the biggest problems, and if you've got to replace windows, how does that look?
What we've seen is the seal goes, and windows then will often leak, and then they rot the base out of the window, and they become just and then in winter they become horrible, like whatever they grow collect, frost and
the fog inside,
they become very horrible and aesthetically and just letting in all the cold air. And so the 9 times out of 10, I think if a window isn't right, they're all sealed units, and so replacing a window is the best. People get into like tape and repainting and things like that, and it's like, if your carb is knocking on your vehicle and you change your oil, it may have helped, but it didn't really fix the issue.
Your brakes don't work, but you're doing a wheel alignment.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And so and then when it comes to window replacement, there's like the Earls, which is a local company in the city that I'm saying Earl's is in like the middle.
I was going to say like the restaurant.
Yeah, Earl's, they do windows.
Oh wow!
But there's
careful what you order there now.
There's a company in the city that should I say the company?
Oh yeah.
Okay, like Supreme Windows is like your Earl's, where they are doing good quality.
Yeah.
And you're paying for that level, and they have a vinyl window, which they primarily do. And I think that's where if you're wanting like a pure vinyl window, and then if you want your what's the next nicer restaurant? Mercado.
Sure.
Then you're going to probably Lux, and Lux they do a vinyl, and they are competitive Supreme in their vinyl, but they also can do the metal clad exterior with wood interior,
wood trims and stuff.
And they're doing a lot of different, they have Tesoro doors that fold open. They have all these type of features.
I love the black trim on the outside with like nice wood, raw wood on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you, now you can do with the whole farmhouse design thing, you can drywall, or you can return drywall so it looks like an architectural window. Oh. Because you do black in the inside, and then you
look at this guy.
Then you make an architectural window, but it's not as expensive as architectural glass. So
I have no idea.
Yeah, we've done that in a few homes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. And again, if you're doing a showing and you're looking at homes, look for the type of window that's in there now. So, because it could be anything from aluminum sliders, old 70s, to even older vinyl. Because now, like your mid 90s vinyl windows, they're going to be like starting to crack or leak or seals potentially. So just because it's vinyl doesn't mean that it's like good.
Yeah, true. Right? Yeah.
So if it's like starting to yellow or whatever. But I think the biggest thing is the casing around. If you're casing around the window, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Like the trim, the casing there. Yeah. So if that part of the window, you have your window, casing, and then your wall. This part, if it's wood or if it's is it PFD?
PVC?
Well, that's a pipe. Isn't it PVC? What is the wood?
Oh,
compressed wood.
Oh, sorry.
Now we're like getting all these initials mixed up in our head.
Like the wood inside the window? Like for the jam?
The jam, yeah.
That's always like fir. If it's wood.
Okay. So and then what's like, is the vinyl ones usually wrap around vinyl?
Yeah, the vinyl will be, they'll have a vinyl jam that attaches to the vinyl
window itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's always looking at that part.
Yeah.
Because then that'll also tell you. So if it's wood and it just needs to be painted, that's okay. But it's just really just look. And if it looks gross, there's a problem.
Yeah. That's pretty much.
We should have just said that. Why don't we start there? If it looks gross, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what about costs? So cost for a window, if you're just generally looking at replacing with that Supreme type vinyl middle of the road kind of window.
Well, I hope I'm not doing them any disservice, but I would say that like if you would budget $1,000 a window, and the lot will be less and some will be a lot more. But if you just went through your house, counted everything up, and put $1,000 to it, you might get a aggregate number that gives you a safe number of what it'd be like to change out all the windows and have labor to do that and so forth.
So so if you got 10 windows, it could be a $10,000 to $12,000 fix.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah,
cool. Last two. So we've gone through furnace, roof, exterior windows, and the last two we want to go through is general water damage and grading, and then the good old gray piping. But let's start with the grading. So if you're seeing water in the basements, problems with the stuff around the house, or what are signs that people can look for if the grading is coming into the house, or if there's just too much water penetration coming in, or whatever it is? What are some signs that people can look for?
Well, first, it'd be good just to do a general walk around and just see, like, is the ground sloped towards the house, or is there a patio that was done that it looks like
sinking almost?
It's sinking at the house, and that's good to do first. Just a general walk around and see. Always, you want to have water that is within proximity of your home be shed to your property points. That's just always the the rule of thumb. And then what I've seen personally by looking through homes is I go into the basement, and sometimes basements are very neatly gutted, and has new frost walls, and everything's been kind of cleaned up, but it's been cleaned out.
Yeah.
And that usually means that there was water, and they needed to remediate that, which they did that properly, and now they have a bare basement because they're going to sell now, and they're not going to develop their basement. So those are often signs. Yeah.
What about the parging on the outside? Like if you start seeing crumbling parging?
Yeah.
So what parging is essentially you have your foundation wall, and on the outside is just like a cosmetic coat, right? On the parging. And if you start seeing that like crumbling, is that signs of water? Because I've heard clients say that, and as they're walking around, say, "Oh, there must be water because of this." And what is your take on that?
Parging does have a lifespan. It's coated on concrete to concrete, and so over time, with weather, with just all the snowpack, shovels, it will break down. I don't think it necessarily is that there's water penetration right there. But if accelerated in certain areas, could be a sign where it's getting more elements and getting more water there for sure.
Totally. So last thing is the gray piping, PVC piping. We've had some clients who don't care. We've had clients who will just not buy a house with it in it.
Oh yeah.
We've had the whole array of it all. So what would you say to someone who is on the fence of PVC piping? What is the good? What is the bad? What are the horror stories? How can it be fine? I'm really setting you up for a T-ball shot here just to see, because PVC is like a weird topic for a lot of people, right?
Well, I would tell the listeners that fundamentally the gray pipe does not have the same stress and the same threshold of hot, cold, and pressure and things like that we put through these pipes as the up to code, the newer the newer PEX pipe.
Yeah.
And so if you're buying an older home and it has a gray pipe, you could be fine. It could be fine, and it's already worked for many years with you. So you have history on your side, and so I would say it could be fine. So it may not need like rash reaction, but fundamentally it is not as good as the up to code PEX.
That's why they changed it.
Yeah, that's why they changed it. And the beauty thing about building and homes is that people are trying to improve, and products are improving every year. Yeah. And so it's just one of those things that I think it's a little bit of a what's my comfort level with this? Yeah. Can I handle it? Because the worst case scenario is if it's the fittings that will break.
Okay.
If it breaks, you'll know there will be water in your roof, and you'll call a plumber. He will cut a hole and he will fix that.
Yeah.
And then the hole will be remediated, and then you go on.
Yeah. And I guess tying a cost to those fixes is like super tough. I mean, and to replace plumbing in a whole house, like that's a big job, especially if everything's like finished and it's a 10-year-old house kind of thing.
Yeah, that's almost it's in when you're doing a pretty large scale reno when you're going to do that amount of plumbing change. Yeah.
So no, this is good. So if you have questions that weren't answered in here, things that you would like to look for or see when you're looking at homes, I know this is a long video, but ton of good info. So thank you for sticking with us and going through this. But if there's questions you have, thoughts you have about things that you should look for when you're looking at homes that we didn't answer, put them in the comments below, and we will definitely reach out and get those answers to you. How's that sound? All right. Well, that's what we have for today. So hopefully you're having a wonderful day and a great week, and we will talk to you guys later.